Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the last Friday Mastermind of 2021. This is New Year's Eve, and tomorrow is the first day of 22. Couldn't be more fired up about next year and couldn't feel more grateful about the year that we just had. We're going to dedicate today's call to just a fireside chat. So kind of that means it can go all over the place. We've got three people that are on the stage and unmuted. Myself, Dave Savage, founder of Mortgage Coach, Todd BookSpan, CEO and founder of Win by Noon. What's up, Todd?
Not much. I can't believe 2021 is over. There's some days where it felt like this year was just crawling, and there's just feels like now it's just flown by. It's been, certainly a year for the record books, that's for sure.
There's no doubt. And I've got some mega trends to call out, some observations for the year. We also have Deborah Bird, the founder of Plug and Play SM. What's up, Deborah?
Good morning, everyone. Cannot believe today is the last day of 2021. I'm excited. I'm excited to start 2022. I think it's always good to have a fresh start and a chance to look back and see, what you can improve on and, set big goals and dreams and achieve them. So I'm excited.
I am too. And so, guys, we have a third or a fourth person, and that's you. If you're watching this live in our Facebook group, we would love to have your engagement and comments, whether it's questions that you have, takeaways that you have, answers to questions that we ask, or if you're in this Zoom, we'd love to have interaction from you guys during this conversation. So the theme for me that I'm going to cover in today's call as it comes to preparing for 2022 is I'm going to talk about how to become a world-class mortgage advisor. At Mortgage Coach, we call that a red belt, a grandmaster, someone that's done 1,000 total cost analysis. But maybe your goal is to become a black belt this year. Every loan officer can be a black belt in Mortgage Coach in their first year, whether it's your first year in the mortgage business or whether you're a $100 million producer. We've got examples of both new loan officers and mega producers that have done it. And then I'm also going to have a theme around what it means to be I'm not going to use the word a world-class master guide, but what it means to be a master guide, a term that I learned this year from Jonathan Roach. And I'm going to talk about that. It's going to be my theme. Deborah is going to be the queen of one to many. So how to take what you're doing and put it on social media and scale your message or your communication. And Todd is going to be Mr. Win by Noon. Who better to kick off the new year and to plan for the new year than the founder of Win by Noon. So Todd, if you don't mind going first and just give us an overview as the leader of Win by Noon, what are the best practices? What are some of the milestones that everybody on this call, maybe they don't have it done today, but by Monday, they should have these things done if they're really preparing well for 2022.
I think that's such a great question. So here's sort of to kind of frame it, right? There's a lot of different directions that I could take it. I recently did a life planning course, right? So those of you who are super intentional around your business and you've planned your business, the question always is, have you planned your life? I mean, people spend 320 hours planning their wedding. They spend days planning a car purchase, but most people don't plan their lives. So I'll throw a link over here once I'm done talking to the recorded webinar of that. I would encourage someone who hasn't thought about really, how do I want to be intentional around the time I spend, right? I talked about it on Tuesday. Jonathan Roach talked about there's 75 hours that you have outside of work and sleep in the average week. And I feel like oftentimes we're so busy being busy in this business, right? It's a 7-day-a-week business. So some of you are probably laughing like, hey, I don't really have 75 hours of time. You do. It's your choice of how you spend it. And the life plan, for anyone who hasn't thought of it, watch the webinar. I got really positive feedback. It's something that I learned years ago from Coach Bill Hart when I was a client of Building Champions. He required me to do it. He threatened me if I didn't. And of course, I can't threaten all of you, but I would just tell you it changed my life. And I've taught it now to probably hundreds, if not thousands of people. And I continue to hear from them that it was the number one thing that they've ever done. So I'll throw that in there. I would encourage you to think about that. I mentioned business plan again.
What is the number one thing, Todd? Just to repeat it.
I would do a life plan, plan your life.
Oh, life plan. Got it.
Yep. Dave, a good quote that Todd Duncan had said in his sales academy was, are you a loan officer in business or in business as a loan officer? So it kind of ties into, does your life happen by default because you're so busy reacting to the day-to-day, or are you creating your life first that then business fits into? So anyways, I love that number one with creating a life plan. I think that's good.
Well, and I'll tie it all in. I think that's great, Deborah, because ultimately in the end, it's, you have to be intentional with your time. And so I'm going to end up there. I'm going to talk about the pieces that you need to build into it. And then I'm going to talk about how to schedule it to get it done. Because in the end, we all wake up with great intentions. And I do every day, and I don't always get them done. But I find when I've got it calendared out, what is most critical for my personal and professional success and those around me is really what will lead to the results that you want versus, by getting there intentionally versus getting there by accident. A lot of us in this business, the last, 19, 20 months have had amazing businesses. And I would call it more by accident, for a lot of people than intentionality. And, I don't mean that to be an insult to people. I just want it to be a little bit of a stinger, though, that makes you think, okay, can I do it a little bit differently, a little bit more intentional with my focus in 2022. And so I always start with the life plan piece because I think that that's really critical. And I don't hear a lot of people talk about that, right? We've got lots of great coaches who've come on here. We've got lots of great leaders in our industry who talk about planning your business. And I would just tell you, if you've never thought about planning your life, whether you're 26 or you're 66, it's not too late to do it and really impact those around you. I mean, it's just been a game changer. I also did 2 webinars on business planning. Those are also both up on the Win by Noon YouTube channel.
Todd, before you go off of life planning, I just want to insert one thing that I did the first time last year. And it came from the business planning call that we had with Jeremy Forcier and Dan Keller last year. By the way, great call. Go back and listen to it. But they talked about how they wrote a narrative of their life in 5 years. So literally describing their life from where I am personally, where I am from a health perspective, where I am financially. And I did that for the first time last year. And, one, it was really hard to do. And 2, super gratifying. And, I've actually never made more progress in a year than I did in 2021. And I do think some of the vision casting and writing I did, have a life plan and then have that 25-year narrative. Todd, do you remember that when they talked about that?
I do. And I love that they were really transparent and shared it, right? Because you just use that word vision, right? Really what the life plan does is you're creating a vision for you personally, and you're creating a vision for the different categories in your life. You're creating a vision for, where you are. Yeah, it's going to have a business vision part of it, but you're not going to get as deep into it in a life plan, but it's going to have a vision for the relationship with your spouse. It could have a vision for your future spouse if you don't currently have a spouse. It has a vision for me and my relationship with my children and the things that I want to encourage them and help them to do to live the life that they envision for themselves. It's got a vision for my finances. It's got a vision for my health. It's got a vision for my spirituality. And I think when you take the time to write it out, that's where that word intentional comes in. You become more intentional with it, whether you review it, the best practice is you review it every day for 30 days and then once a week for really the rest of your life. But what I find is that even if you don't do that, once you've taken the time to write it, you have that magnetic pull, right? You're pulling it towards you. You've created that. And I think that is just something that we all want if we really think about it. We've all thought about it subconsciously. You're driving down the street thinking, gosh, I would love to, take 50 days of vacation with my family. Well, guess what? I wrote that in my business or in my life plan. I was going to take 50 days unplugged as a loan officer, right? Building a $100 million team at the time. And take 50 days of vacation a year with no phone, no cell phone, no email. Those are the things that you can't do overnight, but you can build towards, when you put that out there. And then ultimately, once you know what the vision is, then you look at your current reality. Where am I now? Right. And so this applies to your business plan, and it also applies to your life. If you say, hey, I want to close 50 million next year and you closed 20 million this year, you've got a $30 million gap. If I say, my goal is to weigh 159 pounds. That's what I view as my world-class Todd. And I weigh 165 pounds. I've got a 6-pound gap. And then you have to decide, what are the actions I have to schedule in my calendar this week in order to put me one step closer to what that future vision is. And that's the reason why most people can actually blow past their 5-year vision when they actually are intentional around it, because you actually start with today and tomorrow. Like, what do I need to do now in order to get there. And it's not as hard as people think. I tend to think the reason that people don't get there is because they just don't think about it, right? You just don't really think about what is that plan. And so, go to the business planning part of it. Like I said, I'll put a link to the business planning webinars I did. I did 2 of them. They're both a little bit different. If you look at the first one that's in there, I did it from my phone because my computer wouldn't get on Zoom. The second one I did from my computer with a PowerPoint presentation. They're both good, but they're both different. I've had a lot of people watch both of them and say that they liked each one differently for different reasons. But ultimately, for me, it always comes back to the idea of, do you know what you need today in order to hit your business goal at the end of the year? So let me say that again. Do you know what you need to do today in order to hit your business goal? And what I mean by that is, what are the activities that you need to do if at the end of the year you want to close 50 million or 75 million or 175 million? Like, what are those activities? And we know what they are, right? It's calls, it's conversations, it's meetings. And those activities will get you to results, right? Results are going to be leads. It's going to be applications. It's going to be pre-qualified clients, and then ultimately people who close, right? That's when you get paid. And I tend to find that, the Win by Noon community is a little bit weird because those are people who are super focused on their activities, right? They're the ones who know exactly what their activities are. And I'll tell you that it's a spoiler alert. Most people who looked at their business the first half of 2021, it mirrored 2020 from a numbers perspective. Then as we went to the second half of 2022 or 2021 and into the fourth quarter of 2021, right? Refi slowed way down. And so what I found is that people needed to up their activity typically about 50% in order to have the conversion rates that they want. Now, some of you are thinking, what the heck is Todd talking about? Well, I would tell you from a specificity perspective. I had loan officers who use Win by Noon who knew if they made the average number I saw was 20 to 25 calls resulted in one closed transaction. And what I would tell you that I saw at the second half of the year from loan officers was that it took 25 to 30 calls. And again, calls and conversations tend to go hand in hand for them. But ultimately it went up, right? It went up pretty significantly that, at least 20%, sometimes it was 50% more activities required to get the result that they want. And the reason that's important for you is because if you don't know how many activities it takes for you, whether you track the conversations you have with someone or you track the actual outbound dials to a lead, a realtor prospect, then how are you going to figure out how to hit your goal next year when it slows down? And so it's just, to me, it's fascinating, right? I'm a nerd around the numbers, and I tend to find that the people who get it, that's where that specificity comes in. So when I said you got to bridge that gap, the loan officers who are living the Win by Noon philosophy went from focusing on, again, it all depends on the number of transactions you want to have at the end of the year, but, do the math on it. If you want to do, 100 transactions and it's going to take you 25 outbound dials to get it, you're going to have to make 2,500 calls, and you're going to have to divide that out into the month, into the week, into the day. But wouldn't it be nice if you knew exactly how many calls you have to make on Monday when you get to the office, if you want to close your goal number of loans for the year? I mean, that's a pretty big concept to know exactly what it is you have to do. The other part is that let's pretend the year transitions like this year did. I already said people in the first half of the year had to do less calls. And because they were looking at their numbers each day, each week, each month, they were able to course correct during the year and increase their activity to make sure they still hit their goals. And oftentimes we just don't understand what that goal is until the end of the year when we get there. And so I think really you have to have the business plan. You have to know what your numbers are. And then if you haven't ever recorded these activities, we'll start on Monday, right? On Monday, just start, there's plenty of places you can, literally just write on a yellow pad of paper, right? How many calls did I make today? How many quality conversations? How many people did I actually talk to? And then ultimately set the numbers so that you can be intentional around it. Because ultimately, here's the back of my business planning tool. So the business planning tool is free. Just go to winbynoon.com/business planning tool. But ultimately, the intentional part of your day is the morning, right? You want to dial all morning and you want to do your most important things. It could take you 30 minutes or it could take you 3 hours, right? And then of course you want to win by noon in the middle of the day. And then the afternoon is all about reacting. And then what reacting encounters is, encapsulates is meeting clients, meeting realtors, running errands, chasing down pay stubs. And, ultimately, I think what it boils down to is, what do you want the end of your 2022 to look like, right? Here we are. It is the last day of 2021. And do you want to sit at the end of 2022 and be patting yourself on the back and getting a high five from Deborah, Dave, and myself because you crushed your goals? Or do you want to get to the end of 2022 and say, that was a pretty crazy year. I didn't do quite as well as I wanted. And then, because I didn't realize that, my business had slowed down and I didn't get any refis, or, I lost that one big realtor, or do you want it to be where, hey, like we're high-fiving each other because you were super intentional. Hey, I wanted to get 20 new realtor partners. Hey, I wanted to get, 100 closed transactions, and then just know what those numbers are. So I'll shut up in one sec. The last thing I'll say around it is, if you're going to be intentional about it, you're going to have to plan. I'd watch the business planning webinar if you haven't written your business plan. It's free. The tool is free. If you've done your business plan and want to up your life, watch the life planning webinar. And then last but not least, jump in next week. So I'll be running a couple of Win by Noon launch webinars over the next couple of weeks. So just they're not on the calendar yet, but it's just at winbynoon.com/calendar. I'll make sure I post them up. But the launch webinar isn't necessarily, yes, it's how to use the planner, but it's going to tell you how to plan, even if you don't use the planner. So I just jump on it. If you want to learn more about how to do it, you don't have to have the planner to be a planner. And I think that would be a way for you to hear me walk through step by step this whole intentionality rant that I just went on. It'll help you figure out how to better plan, not your whole year, but really plan your week and your day. And I feel in the end that, I could talk about this all day. I'm super passionate. I barely took a breath. I didn't let Dave or Deborah say anything, but here's what I know. I know that those of you who figure out the number, what is your number that you have to do, and you actually are committed to it, right? You set it as a standard. You say, hey, I'm going to do 25 outbound dials a day. It's going to be 15 client and lead calls. It's going to be 10 realtor and partner prospect calls. If you're that committed to that and you make sure that every day you do it before you go home, guess what? You're going to be high-fiving yourself at the end of the year. You will do it. I've got no doubt. And unfortunately, I feel like for those of you who are like, yeah, that's fine, Todd. I'm just not that person. I'm not going to do that. Then, I wish you all luck. But I think it's going to take a little bit of luck to get there. So I know there's a plan that works. I've seen it over and over and over. And there's a reason that I've got a team that still produces over 500 loans a year with the same relationships that I created, 4 or 5 years ago when I was full-time loan officer before the Win by Noon thing hit. And I want you guys to be able to have that same level of success.
So I want to make sure everyone heard a few things. First of all, did you hear what Todd said at the end? There's still a team that now his wife leads and his partner leads and other people lead that does over 500 loans a year. And Todd was one of the first loan officers in the country that just consistently got to that point where he had a team that does over 500 loans a year. So you're hearing from a guy while, his full-time job now is Mr. Win by Noon, and he's a real estate entrepreneur. He's a business entrepreneur. He's a mentor. He's incredibly successful. So that was a huge gift for anyone listening. Hopefully the takeaways are life plan is number one. Have a clear 5-year vision. To really hear some of America's most successful loan officers share their 5-year vision, go back and listen to last year's call with Jeremy, where he literally read his 5-year vision, and it was so powerful. And you could just go back and just kind of like fill in the blanks with yours. And then as Todd said, be clear on what is your number, and then build a plan. And then he told you lots of resources. So you could go to the Win by Noon group. He's got more webinars that he's done. And no excuses not to have a Win by Noon strategy. And then, of course, if you really want to, go all in, get a Win by Noon planner, get a Win by Noon sticker, get a Win by Noon shirt, and be a Win by Nooner. So I did want to speak to Kobe. Looks like we got a new loan officer in the house. What's up, Kobe? First of all, he shared a video from Carl White. I haven't watched it, but I know if Carl White's involved, it's awesome. So Kobe, thank you for sharing that in our comments. He also said, what would you say to a new loan officer that doesn't have a pipeline yet and doesn't necessarily know their numbers? Kobe, we'll save that for the end. So all three of us, let's closing thoughts, our advice for new loan officers. We'll get to that. And cool. And then we got Michelle Castle in the house, giving some real wisdom and sharing just how this is my favorite time of year to get to reflect and recalibrate. So guys, keep the comments coming. So Deborah, you're up. First of all, anything you want to ask Todd or say off that, and then your turn to tell everybody from your perspective how they should plan for 2022.
Yeah, I first want to say I did not know. I found this out much later that Todd had this mega team behind him. And I was like, holy cow, how in the world is he doing 500 loans a year? And he's Mr. Win by Noon. He does the mortgage coach calls. And I suddenly thought, okay, if you're going to take advice from anybody who knows how to prioritize time and can accomplish this much, clearly he knows what he's doing. And so I'm going to be very transparent that way back when I was originating, I tried to recreate my own kind of planner because I would hear everything that Todd said. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start. And this kind of goes to Kobe. I wasn't tracking my numbers, and I was trying to create my own Excel spreadsheet, and it was just kind of a hodgepodge. And what I realized is, Todd is great at keeping things simple. And so for those of you who haven't seen, his planner literally lays it out. You have a way to track it not only daily, the very action items that he talked about, but then you also have a way to track it weekly. And then you have a month in review, which it's all laid out for you. And that's what I loved about this planner is I thought, why am I trying to recreate the wheel? It's all right here. And it's loan officer specific or it's real estate agent specific, which is why I think it's a great opportunity for those of you kicking off the year, doing your monthly masterminds with real estate agents, which if you're not doing that, that is a one-to-many strategy I highly recommend, and start with giving them the gift of the Win by Noon planner for real estate agents and make that an intentional time where it's, say the first Wednesday of every month that you guys work on the business, not in the business, on the business. And that dedicates time to go back and reflect. But the other cool thing is, it reminds me if you would ever go to a sporting event. I won't say the Dallas Cowboys, although I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan, but let's say
not this weekend, they're playing the Cardinals.
I know Jordan's going to that game because it's here. But would you ever go to a game if they didn't keep the score? Like, no, that would be boring. And so that's the other thing I love about, if I were a branch manager or, I would have this scoreboard up, and it's a nice, what size is this, Todd? Like a 11 by 17?
11 by 17. Yeah,
it's like a great little scorecard that I would have posted in my office. So it's my visual that I can see every day, and I'm keeping score. And so that way, as you go through the quarters, like if this were a basketball game, you have a way to know, am I winning? Am I behind? Where do I need to up my activities? If you don't track it and you don't have a visual and you don't know, how are you going to, grind up and do the reps that you need to do to make sure that your results and your goals are there. So I just want to give, my shout out and love to Win by Noon, not only because I think it's a great tool that Todd's created, but it works and it's simple. And for me, and I know a lot of the loan officers that I work with, they need things simple where they don't have to think, and it's just plug and play. No pun intended. So that's just my feedback for you, Todd. And, thank you for this gift. And then, guys, for the one to many, Dave opened with being a black belt or a red belt. And Dave, can you remind everyone, what does it take to get that rank? I know you said most people can get in their first year. So for Corby, who's listening, what does it take to become a black belt or a red belt?
So, well, first of all, if you don't even know what I'm talking about, the first goal is to be an orange belt, and that's 20 total cost analysis. So white belt 0, orange belt, and becoming an orange belt is the hardest because you're learning a new conversation, not radically different, but there's just nuances. Instead of like, hey, I want to sell you a loan and here's my rates, fees, and closing costs, you're like, hey, what are your goals? And where do you want to be in 3 years, 5 years? And you're delivering a mortgage plan, and you're actually having to create this total cost analysis. So that's the hardest. Brown belt, which should be everybody's goal, is 100 total cost analysis. And then what I teach is, in order to become a black belt, 1, you need to do 300 total cost analysis, and 2, you need to mentor someone else, like be an accountability partner for someone, because the best way to learn and to grow is to lead. Learn something so well that you're mentoring and helping other people achieve that goal. And then a red belt is 1,000 total cost analysis. And I do not know anyone who's done that in a single year, although I did interview Gina Myers, and she might have done it in a year. She started using Mortgage Coach this year, and when I interviewed her a few weeks ago, she was at like 950 total cost analysis. And I'm actually going to check in with her today and see if she actually became a red belt in a single year. But that's 1,000 total cost analysis. And then again, mentor people and do one-to-many. So there's your answer.
So those listening on this, I encourage you to go back, and I think it was episode maybe 2 of the CMA Day Mastermind that we did with Jeremy, where he talked about all the different points of when he would do a TCA. So I don't know, Dave, if you can drop that link. I think it was the 2nd or maybe 3rd mastermind. But I just encourage all of you that as you're building out, your life plan and you're visioning your goal 5 years from now. And yes, there's a lot of conversations right now with, maybe even with your branch manager or you're the manager and you're looking at your P&L and what things do we need to drop in 2022. And, refi business is slowing down a bit. So how are we going to ramp up? Know your reps. What are those daily activities that you need to do? And then take your calendar and make time and use social to not keep it a secret. So those of you who are starting off, which I hope everyone listening to this is starting off on Monday with their TCA a day challenge that they're going to do, don't keep that a secret. Showcase to your audience. Send an email out every Friday. Go Facebook Live. Show people how you think differently and do it from a place where there is no ego. So I had someone DM me yesterday saying, I just get really nervous with video because, I just don't feel like I'm very attractive and who's going to want to see me on the camera. I'm like, nobody, that's ego getting into the way. If you truly care about providing value and helping people with this financial crisis and bringing the awareness to those who need it, they need this. I call it financial truth. Then make on your calendar, make it a commitment every Tuesday. I call it TCA Tuesday, where you're going to go live. If that's too scary, then record a video and just storytell. That's all you're doing. You're just talking about a client's problem that they had, and you're the solutionist, how you solved the problem. Make sure your intro emotionally connects. In fact, I just used Josh Meadows' one that he shared. Dave, I think you posted it on YouTube in like the last couple of days, of a client who was going to put 20% down, but it would wipe out his savings. Well, guys, I just ripped off and duplicated that and made it a social media post for some of my clients where it wasn't even them in the video. It just was an animated, visual, and it showed the TCA. So, those out there like Kobe, don't allow the excuse or limiting belief of, and I'm not saying Kobe that this is you, but anyone out there who's like, I've never even created a TCA like that yet. Just go to the YouTube channel, choose one. You hear them explain it, because Dave does these calls where he has them even show the TCA. Dave will even put the TCA link there, so you can just screenshot the actual, slide and talk about it, and just talk about it in a way that helps solve problems that maybe somebody out there listening has. Or your tie down could say, I'm sharing this with you all because you may know a brother, a sister, or a coworker who may be going through something very similar, and they don't know who to go to get this advice. I'd love to help them. Make sure you always have your tie down. That is important. So that is my, as you're building out your plan, and even if you're looking at first quarter, be intentional of using social media for good and using it as a tool, not a toy. And know that it's not about self-promotion. It's about, the emotion and what awareness you can bring to those who need it. And let's face it, whether you like social media or not, this is where people are. And I feel like it's our job. If you're going to be the guide and you're going to be the captain of the wealth team and you're going to be a red belt or a black belt, to me, you're not a master or world-class until you're using social for good.
So I want to make someone, if you could put that quote from Deborah, use social media for good. Don't use it as a toy, use it as a tool, or use it as a tool, not as a toy. I don't know what she said, but good quote. Deborah, also not a bad shirt. Maybe next week, kicking off the new year. You
don't like my adulthood 1-star?
I like that. That's cool. So TCA Tuesday, every Tuesday, that is the day to take a story, a family where this was their problem or goal, this was your solution and advice, and tell that story using video, whether that's a Facebook Live whether that's a Zoom that you pre-record, whether that's, pull up your iPhone and do like Denise Donahue, the mortgage nerd, does, where she's literally talking and she flips the screen and shows a piece of paper or shows her thing. Like, guys, like every Tuesday, do something that's using social media for good. And by the way, while it's okay to, brag about success stories that you've had, it's okay to talk about how many loans you close, but I would just push everybody. And when I get into my part, to be the guide and not the hero, that means the content you're creating at a minimum is 50% about someone else. And now me personally, I try to make it so that it's 80% about shining a light on other people. Anybody that reads my post, I do a daily post on LinkedIn. I'm always being the guide. 10% of the time, 20% of the time, I'll talk about a little family highlight, or I'll share some concepts that are important to me personally. But usually I'm shining light on someone else. I'm interviewing someone, and I'm being the guide to some of the greatest leaders in the mortgage industry. Deborah, before it's my turn to share, anything else you want to make sure you unpack around? And again, we got another half hour, so it's not your last time to talk.
Well, I was just going to say, for those listening, if both you and Todd, if you had to pick your top 4 TCAs for January, it's always like to theme the days where you have like either debt consolidation, move up buyer. What 4 TCAs would you say right now would be most important to hit on for January, if you're going to theme out your January?
Todd, why don't you go first?
I would say for me, I would do an annual mortgage review, TCA, and I would be talking about how I do annual mortgage reviews for my clients. And if you're interested in an annual mortgage review, I'd love to adopt your mortgage. I feel like that is such a timely one right now, even though, and you'd have to build into it, hey, your rate may be lower. However, have you thought of these other reasons you might want to refinance? And, tell the story around, I even do the annual mortgage review, even for my clients who have an interest rate that's, 0.5% or more lower than the current market. I still feel like that is a big cornerstone of my business. And that is why my clients like me, or, some script around that. I have to think more about that. But for me, that's the number one. What would you put in there, Dave?
Well, it is funny you asked. I did a post a couple days ago on this, and it wasn't about what I thought. It was about what Denise thought. So this is a post from one day ago, and I pulled this from it's actually one of the 10 top videos of 2021. It came in 5th place, and I'm going to unveil those in a minute. But this is what Denise did, and this was a realtor meeting that she went to. I'm sure Deborah helped her with this. Might have been Deborah's idea, but it was a cost of waiting. So there's no doubt you got to kick off the year with a cost of waiting. I don't know if the appraisal gap is as hot today as it was, but I do think it's one of 4. Whether or not it comes in number 2. At the time that this call was going on, I mean, it was in the heat of bidding wars in a market like Dallas, where, one of the biggest bidding war markets in the country. I definitely think a rent versus own analysis is it. I personally think cost weighting is number 1. Rent versus own analysis is either number 2 or 3. And my number 2 of 2000 and 2020 or 2022 is the move up analysis. I think being able to show people, because let's face it, what won in 2021? Equity won. People have more equity, and they don't know what moving up looks like. So I think, and there's even a case that should be number 1. Like the number 1 strategy of 22 is a move up analysis. So those are my 3 or 4. And then, guys, here's an article. Go check me out on LinkedIn. Every weekday, I post something that I try to be valuable to the mortgage industry with.
Good, perfect. So anyone listening to that, take your calendar, and if you're going to commit to doing TCA Tuesday, then maybe you go live. This is a real estate version, and you just put exactly what they said. I do like the annual review. I think that is a great one to kick off, to kind of do a mortgage checkup for clients. And then do, maybe the move up is the 2nd Tuesday of the month. rent to own, third Tuesday of the month. And then the last one is cost of waiting. So Dave, I don't know if you remember that post that we made. I think it was with Tom Ferry back on the Modern Real Estate Summit Instagram, but it said the 3 largest demographics was moving up and downsizing. Do you have a TCA for like what should you do with all this equity if you're
Absolutely.
wanting to?
Yeah, no, we got a cash versus mortgage TCA. We got a move down TCA. And, usually when you're doing a move down TCA, and I'll tell our director, Suzanne, our director of training, to cover this next week on Thursday when we do Wednesday when we do our mortgage strategy training. But all you're going to do is like column A is here's your mortgage, here's your house, here's how much money you have in the bank, or not in the bank, but earning interest or interest bearing stuff. And column B is, hey, if you move down, that's going to, you're going to own a less expensive home, but you're probably also going to take some of that equity and you're going to put it in an interest bearing account. And you're looking at, okay, where's my net worth going to be in 10 years? And then I think it's always important for mortgage people. You're not trying to like, oh, well, there's more net worth in this one, so that's the choice. No, your goal is to take their beliefs, their goals, and make it clear for them so that they can crystal clear see what does moving down look like. And guys, sometimes moving down is not going to improve their net worth. Like if they believe that houses are going to appreciate at 10% and their rate of return on their assets is 4%, real estate's going to look great. But it's to take their beliefs, like maybe they think real estate's going to appreciate 3 or 4%, and maybe they're earning 8 or 10%, and make it clear. But you're not selling strategies. You're providing clarity around strategies and then letting the consumer, your customer, your client make the choice that gives them peace of mind and helps them achieve their goals.
I love that. Hey, can I throw in one other thing? Oftentimes I find that the reason that loan officers don't do their one-to-many TCA post is because they're like, well, I don't have a rent versus own. If you don't have it, you already heard Deborah say it, like she just went out there and stole Josh medals, right? That's why people on this community share, because they want you to be successful too. But the other thing is don't overthink it. If you created a kick-ass TCA yesterday and the client loved the result of it, then just talk about that TCA on social media, because it's going to resonate with somebody else. It's going to be similar to whatever their situation is as well. I think that the ideas that Dave and Deborah just walked through, those are intentional and those are great ideas. But if you don't have that ready to go and it's going to cause you stress, just take the last TCA you did and share that one and talk about why it was important to you.
Well, and Todd, to your point, I do have a video marketing package. It's segmented in an a la carte series. But if you're someone that just needs the strategy, every month I write out where each week you have 2 long tail videos, and one of those is a TCA, because it's an automatic for me, for my rock stars, that if you're doing video, I want one of them, and I hyperlink a TCA examples. I don't know if there's anybody else that probably consumes as much mortgage coach and TCA examples than probably me, but I spoon feed you. Here's a TCA to record today. Here's an example. Now go do it. And here's even bullet point talking points. So if you need that up so you don't get nervous, it's right there for you. It's only $500 a month for just the strategy. So it's 2 long tail videos a week plus 3 shorter reels / TikTok story style videos that you could do on a weekly basis, where you don't even have to think about it. You would just pull up your sheet that we deliver to you, and you know exactly what you're recording, and then you post it. So, and then there's little add-ons where if you wanted us to do editing, we could. And if you wanted us to do the distribution, we could. But if you're someone struggling and you don't have the examples, I have a solution for you.
All right, guys. So I'm going to jump in, share, a couple things. One, I want to announce the top 10 videos in 2021 with Mortgage Coach. And then 2, I'm going to give you guys my playbook for becoming a world-class mortgage advisor, which means you'd be a Mortgage Coach black belt. So first, let's just quickly go through the top 10 videos of 2021. And they were all picked, they're not subjectively picked. They're picked based off of number of views and the engagement and the likes. Before I share the top 10, which by the way, I put a link down below. So I would ask everybody who's watching this live, go to that link, give it a like, help our algorithms. I have some goals for expanding the influence of Mortgage Coach in 2022. And, by watching our content, by liking it, making a comment, it adds a lot of value. So first of all, we added little over 3,400 new subscribers to our YouTube channel. That's a 34% increase. Pretty pumped about that. We ended, yesterday, we were at 15,442. I've got a goal for 22 of 20,000 subscribers. They were viewed 307,000 times. That's a 27% increase over last year. Pretty pumped and proud of that. And to me, this is the most valuable metric. They were shared 8,711 times. That means a loan officer shared it with a friend. That means a manager shared it with their team. And guys, that is, between sharing it and commenting it helps with the algorithms. And two, it gives us feedback. Like, what are the most valuable videos and content we're creating? So big thank you for every loan officer and manager that uses this for their training. 4 mega trends that I'll talk about more when I talk about my playbook. There's 4 mega trends impacting the mortgage industry right now. Well, 3 that I'm going to highlight. One of them is just, technology, using video and digital platforms like Mortgage Coach to deliver an amazing personal and virtual mortgage experience that goes beyond the transaction. That's a kind of a trend within a mega trend, technology, and then going beyond the transaction. Like, doing a loan is becoming more and more commoditized. It's becoming more and more automated. And if you're not using technology and platforms to not only close a loan efficiently, effectively, and digitally, but if you're not going beyond the transaction, guys, the future is not bright for you. That is essential to your success as a mortgage professional. Number 2 trend, guys, teams are scaling. And for you new loan officers that don't have a team yet, don't worry. You are the beginnings of the team. So you need to become a great individual leader and a great individual producer, and then you'll add to that. But Todd, check this out. Last year, this time, there were 3,566 teams doing over 300 loans a year. That number almost doubled this year. By the way, guys, production didn't go up in America. Refi slowed down. It wasn't like this year was better than last year, but teams almost doubled, 74% increase in production. So the takeaway there is teams and loan officers that are really good are taking market share away from those that aren't. And I expect that to continue to accelerate.
So Dave, this may be a dumb question, but how do they classify teams?
Well, I said anybody that does over 300 loans a year, because I don't think
okay.
anybody that does 300 loans a year could do that without a team.
Okay.
So that's me making, I think that's a pretty logical assumption. I think an individual could do over 100 loans a year, but you need a team to do over 300 loans in a year. Good question though. And then megatrend number 3, and for loan officers on this call, you are part of this megatrend, and that is we're seeing new loan officers just explode into the business, and we're seeing new loan officers go from 0 to hero really quickly. I mean, there used to be a day when it would have been impossible to go from I'm a new loan officer to I close 100 loans in a year. And I know a number of loan officers that have done that. I do not think that should be your goal. Like, I would say if you could close 50, 60 loans in your first year, you are killing it. And your goal should be more about building your character and your skills over your production. Like, if you build great character as a mortgage professional, and to me, great character of a mortgage professional is I prospect every single day, 5 days a week. I have high emotional IQ. I ask questions and I listen to people, and I show them that I listen to them by giving a total cost analysis. So anyways, 3 mega trends. Now here is a summary of the top 10 videos of 2001. Number 1, Scriptapalooza. for the new loan officer that said, what should I do? Listen to this, take notes to this, master all these scripts. It was the #1 video of the year. Todd, any comments?
Well, of course, that's my favorite, one of my favorite things that we've done now the last few years. I just feel like anytime that we can have the best loan officers in America come on and give you their best scripts is a huge win for everyone. And, you can go back and watch all the years of it and you won't be disappointed with the time investment that you make. That's for sure.
No doubt. So check that out. The #2 video of the year was Amber Kovark, Appraisal Gaps. This is the 3rd year that Amber has been in the top 10. I think she was #3 last year. I think she was #5 the year before. She just kills it. She just always does a great job. This was actually a video that she created for the Modern Mortgage Summit. Todd, thank you for letting us take that video and put it into the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. Reminder to anyone out there, you can still, if you aren't watching those videos and you subscribe to it, you have it. And if you don't subscribe to it, go sign up. I think it's like $100, modernmortgagesummit.com. Check it out. Amber, thank you. Newcomer to the Mortgage Coach community, Shant Benoshian, the #1 loan officer in America. Him and his team did over $2 billion in loans this year. Shant became a mortgage coach this year. And, his interview was the #3 interview of the year. Kind of speaking to one of the 3 mega trends, here is our first new loan officer video out of the top 10. It came in #4, where we did a mastermind. Todd, I think you were on it. Deborah, you weren't on this one, but you were on one of the others. New loan officers on this call. Check that out if you haven't already. #5, Denise Donahue, Blow the Mind of Groups of Realtors. This one's the shortest. It's only 6 minutes. This was also a gift from the Modern Mortgage Summit. Thank you again, Todd. Deborah, any thoughts on this? You think this is a pretty good one?
A lot of people think that this was something that she just did this year. This is a staple that I remember her doing back in like 2013 when it was her. And it's these things that she does consistently that has always worked, which is her monthly masterminds with agents and teaching her agents her tools. But literally, she printed off some TCAs on a piece of paper, had them laid out, and it always blows the minds of her agents. It's a huge win, which is why I say don't limit it to just wowing your client in front of you or one-to-one with an agent. Host these masterminds and use social and blow the minds of many.
So guys, this is a requirement, whether you're new, whether you're experienced. You just heard it. And how many loans is Denise going to close this year?
She's going to break 700.
And
it was like a week ago. She was at like 638 families. And guys, she took off the last 2 weeks. She's been in New York. Like, wouldn't that be nice that you're about to close out over, I think she'll be at around 702. I need to confirm with her, but it's incredible.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
One of America's most successful loan officers, the Mortgage Nerd. Follow her on social media, watch this 3-minute video. And more importantly than watch this 3-minute video or 6-minute video, do what she's doing here. And Deborah is going to post in the Mortgage Coach Facebook group every Tuesday what is, the TCA one-to-many on that Tuesday. And then you could take that and do a realtor meeting. By the way,
can I just say that Shayla Gifford, who we all know is like a badass and we love Shayla, because of this video, she reached out to me because I work with Shayla, who then asked me if I could contact Denise to get copies of her Word documents. And so my point to sharing all this is, guys, take advantage of this community and know, Denise is very much from abundance. And she's like, absolutely, here you go. She sent it to her. They collaborated, boom, Shayla had what she needed. And then she wowed her agent. So, follow Denise, DM her. Don't email her. She's best on either text or messaging her online, but she shares. So ask,
Love that. By the way, I just got a text from Gina Myers, and she is currently at 990 or 89 TCAs. So she's 11 TCAs short of becoming a grandmaster. And I think she started in like March.
Wow.
So think of that, guys.
That is awesome.
Again, she's $100 million producer. She's using it for not only all of her borrowers, but all of her annual reviews. But you can become a grandmaster in 1 year. Number 6 on the list is Jeremy Forcier. Jeremy always, every year that I've ever had a top 10, Jeremy's been in at least one video. And last year, I think he was in like 3 or 4 of them. So Jeremy, thank you for being a gift to Mortgage Coach. Number 7, another new loan officer. Alex Cook was in the top 10 videos last year. His single refi or single mom refi. Guys, I would go listen to that and then make that one of your TCA Tuesdays. Someone asked, what's a TCA? It's a total cost analysis. And if you become a black belt at Mortgage Coach, you'll know day one what it is in more detail. Number 8 on the list, Todd BookSpan and I interviewed Shop Benosian, number 1 loan officer in America, and Ryan Serhant, the biggest real estate brand in the world, the most followed mortgage, not just mortgage professional, real estate brand in the world. I mean, just amazing interview. I actually had COVID. I did talk a little bit, but if anyone wants to hear what I sound like on COVID, check out that interview. Todd, anything you want to say on that one?
I'm still shocked that one to get more views, because I always feel like when you bring in, the 2 biggest people in their respective industries, that we would have more views. But I think there was some great textbook information there, from how Ryan manages his time to how he gets big listings. And I would encourage you to watch that, because it's conversation then that you can have with your real estate agents to add value to them. I did, just quick side note, I posted in Facebook and also into the Zoom chat. I'm going to continue doing what I did this last quarter, which was a Monday afternoon, 30-minute to 60-minute call in the Win by Noon community. Any of you can sign up for it, where I'm really focus on really what are the tactics and ideas that you can implement this week. We're going to talk a lot around the CMA a day and the TCA a day challenge. That's really how I feel like we're going to create some accountability and some community in there. So I would love to have you sign up for that and join us, each week.
Mondays, what time, Todd?
It's going to be Mondays at 1 p.m. Pacific. That's when we did it last time. So I'm going to keep running there. I got a lot of feedback that it was difficult for some, but easy for others. And so we're going to give that a shot and have some fun with it.
Awesome. And number 9, another new loan officer playbook with new loan officers and mentors. So, we had a mentor who's mentored a lot of new loan officers. We had, I think Sosi's been a 4-year loan officer, and he's going to hit 100 million this year, or at least really close. And then we had Alex Cook, who did over 107 loans in his first year. So great call. Check it out. And then closing the year, the number 10 Mortgage Coach video of 2011, realtor scripts on how to get meetings and have great conversations. Pure gold. Check him out. And for the new loan officer that said, hey, what do I do? First of all, watch a Mortgage Coach video every single week, at least one, an hour a week, maybe more. Like if you're spending time on Netflix, replace your Netflix time with Mortgage Coach videos. And then this is a playbook, guys. It's a LinkedIn article. I already put a link to it down below, so check it out. There should be a link somewhere to it. And I would just say, you said, like, what's the one thing you should do? I'm going to give you 2 things. One, make sure that you've got a database of 1 or at least 300 people. And there's really no excuse. Like, first of all, there's probably 100 people that you'd invite to your wedding. But I want you to work hard, dig deep with people that know you, like you, and trust you. And then I want you to call them and use the scripts in this call. For all the people that that rent, I want you to call those people and basically say, hey, I need your help. Pause for a second. Remember, they know you, they like you, they trust you. Go, you know what? I'm a loan officer now, and I need to get really good at doing a rep versus own analysis. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but will you let me practice? Will you let me practice my rep versus own analysis on you? Here's what's going to happen to you, new loan officers. One, you're going to get really good and having that conversation with people that know you, like you, and trust you. And you're also going to turn some of those people into homeowners, and you're going to get some deals out of it. And you're going to get some referrals out of it. So don't call them up and say, hey, I'm new in the business. Do you know anyone who needs a loan? Don't use that script. Use the script of, do you mind helping me practice something? And then I want you to call all the homeowners, and I want you to say, hey, I need your help. I need to get really good at having this move up analysis conversation. And will you let me practice and I just got to ask you a couple questions, and then I'll provide you with this move up analysis, not trying to sell you, not trying to tell you need to do this. I just need to practice doing this to get good at it. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to get good at it. So you're going to become better. You're going to get confidence. And you know what you're going to get? You're going to get some deals. You're going to get some loans. And you know what's even better than that? You're going to get a few referrals that you can give to realtors. And so those are my 2 pieces of advice for any new loan officers on today's call. Guys, we got 4 minutes left. Deborah, any closing thoughts or any advice for new loan officers as we wrap it up?
Well, I want to ask you real quick, Dave. I just got a message from Austin that said he's a newer loan officer. He's looking through the Help Center on Mortgage Coach. Can you specifically point him in the right direction of videos explaining in depth how to create a TCA? There's so much to learn, but I just want basic grasp on how to create a simple, basic TCA.
So 2 ways, 3 things you can do. 1, you could go to our support center and type in how to create a TCA, and we're going to give you a video. So use Google on our website. Also, you could go to our YouTube channel, and you can search within our YouTube channel and go how to create a TCA, how to make a total cost analysis, how to make a reference zone, whatever. So use our Facebook, or excuse me, our YouTube channel and that. And then also we have live chat during weekdays. You can call in and get phone support. And then remember, you could also use our Facebook group. Like, there's no bad questions unless you're a spammer. Try to, spam our Facebook group. Like, if you were to go into our Facebook group and say, hey, I'm new, I'm looking for this, can anyone help me? Not only will I help you probably, but you'll get the whole community helping you. So there's a couple ideas for you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Closing thoughts, Deborah, and
Closing
advice for new loan officers.
It goes back to what Todd opened with. You have really today or by Monday, have your life plan in order, create your vision, get super clear on that vision, and then schedule the time in. I like using this calendar because it divides it by quarter. Put your life events in first so that you're making sure that those priorities get done, and have your goal, track it, measure it, and spread your message on social. Use social for good.
Love it. Todd, closing thoughts or advice for new loan officers.
Well, now I've committed myself. I just put it in my planner, so I'll get it scheduled up by Monday. But I'm going to do not next week, but the week after. I will do a 1-hour new officer launch webinar. So it's not going to be a win by noon webinar. It's going to be what I would be doing if I was starting out as a loan officer today. I'll spend an hour walking through that using tools. Obviously, I'm going to be referencing the TCA. Obviously, I probably will sprinkle in win by noon here and there, but I'll just talk about what I would do to launch a career. I'll also make sure it's relevant for people who've been in the business for 5 years or less, or people who've been in the business for 10 years, repeating their first year over and over. So that's a commitment I'll make to you all, because I feel like having a live ability to ask questions and interact will be beneficial. But I think the bottom line is this, right? It's 2021 is almost behind us. And, you had the year you had, and I hope it was a great year. And, remember, we're always looking forwards. We're never looking backwards with regret. And the biggest opportunity that you have is to do a little bit of planning, schedule the time, be intentional around it, decide what your standards are going to be for next year. Because I know if you do that when we get on this call next year, you will be having the biggest smile on your face because you exceeded your expectations, because of the fact that you took the time to be the person that you knew you could be.
Love it, guys. So, hey, I am grateful for anyone that tunes into this channel. My closing thought is do a total cost analysis a day. Like, I can't think of any way that I can create more value for you. I'm working hard to make the YouTube channel, the most valuable place to train with the best mortgage leaders in America. But the best way that I can serve you is if you actually do a TCA every single day. I love this gift from the Win by Noon community. This is a little wall mount that you can actually track a TCA a day. so you can actually put this on your wall. So thank you, Todd, for doing this. But whether you track it by hand, whatever you do, if you do a TCA every single day, you're going to be a better loan officer. You're going to be more confident, and you're going to be more attractive to both buyers and referral partners. So that would be my closing thought. Be careful tonight, have fun tonight, celebrate 2021, and let's get after it in 2022. Can't wait to see you guys on the other side. Todd, thank you for everything we've done together this year. And Deborah, it's so awesome to have you as a regular leader in this community. I am grateful to both of you. Take care, y'all.
All right, everyone. Appreciate you guys very much. Happy
Be
New Year.
world class.
Be world class. This is a wrap. See
Heck
y'all
yeah.
later.